So for you guys just joining us, we've got everything ironed out. We sound good from all different angles. We are talking about today about the real estate market shift, what's been happening with the economy, and how COVID-19 could be affecting us. And the reason why I brought Jason Medley on here with me is because Jason is the founder of Collective Genius, which is a huge mastermind of investors all across the country in all different aspects of the country. There it is, CG, which gives you the ability to have a huge pulse on what's going on in the market. So before we dive into what you think and how that's going to affect and everything, why don't you could just kind of introduce us to where you came from, what your background is, and then we'll kind of dive into that.
Sure. I'll make this short and sweet because I know not everybody really cares too much about that. They're very much more interested in what's going on in the economy. So short and sweet, I've been in the real estate and finance game for about 20 plus years now. I got back in around 2000. Started out as a retail mortgage broker, had my own shop from about 2002 to 2008 when everybody got the proverbial punch in the mouth, which I did not forget. I remember that very well, and that's why I'm very prepared for what is to come, or as prepared, I think, as you can be for what is to come in the next several months. But after the proverbial punch in the mouth, I started back when everything.
What is the proverbial punch in the mouth, right? So there's people that have joined us that are literally, and this is why I want to do this, right? Yeah. Literally got their start in like 15, 16, and they've just been riding that wave, like, woo, money's just flying everywhere. So they don't even know about that punch in the mouth because they might have been in high school during that time. So why don't you explain how that happened?
I mean, we had the great financial crisis in 2008, and basically things had gotten too loosey-goosey. Everything was on fire. The stock market, real estate, loans. Like if you had a pulse, you could get a loan. And I will say this and I mean no disrespect about it in any way, shape or form, but when you went to get your haircut, your barber had, 22 houses and hadn't put a dime down. They're all 100% financing, couldn't prove their income. Like it was just a crazy time. And sooner or later, the party caught up with us. And so, I was a mortgage broker and I lived in Florida. We were the first up and the first down. And I went through a period where it was very trying. I lost my business. I lost my marriage, pretty much the whole shooting match, right?
Wow.
Yeah. And it was just a very difficult time for everybody. But I am not one to lay down for too long, which we're going to talk about probably a little bit about mindset today. And hopefully it's probably what's most important during this time. We'll get into some practical, tactical stuff, but it's probably what's most important at this time is going to be your mindset. So anyway, I got knocked down when the market everything was being short sold because of values had depreciated so dramatically. And I started a boutique funding company, which at the time was called Visionary Financial. And it was what was called transactional funding, right? And so during transactional funding, basically we would lend money for less than a day. You were going to buy a house for $250 in the morning, and you were going to resell that short sale property for $300,000 in the afternoon, and you needed $250,000 for a couple of hours. And that's what we did. We funded anywhere between $85 to $100+ million in transactional funding a year for 4 years in a row. And we did that off only a $5 million credit facility because that money was out and in, right? And so that's really what got me kind of back on top, if you will. And then from there, I started the Collective Genius about 10 years ago. We were 10 years old this month.
So transactional funding is what got you back up on the horse after everything went kaput?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Transactional funding got me back on the horse, and starting Collective Genius is what really put us in a dominant position. I want to say this, and I don't mean it in a triumphant way or anything like that, but the vast majority of the masterminds that you see out there were likely born and originated from within hours. We started the game. We started the game about 10 years ago. We're the oldest, longest running organization out there right now when it comes to real estate investing masterminds.
So when did you get your start in real estate? Like what year was that?
It was right about 2000. Yeah.
2000. And
Yeah.
what did
Right
the
about.
market look like going from 2000 to 2004, would you say?
It was fantastic, right? Everything's appreciating. Everybody with a pulse is getting their real estate license, their mortgage broker's license. It's much like it is right now. To be honest with you, everything was just values
And
were
then
constantly going up.
2004 to 2008, when did you start seeing like the warning bells and you're like, oh, it looks like the dream is over? Or, because it's not like the stock market. It's a stock market. You just watch the news and it's like, boom, right. It just crashes down and everybody loses everything. Real
Mhm.
estate's more of a gradual thing, isn't it?
It didn't seem very gradual at the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really know if you really noticed the warning signs, because if you're new to the game, like that was from 2000 to 2008, those were my first 8 years in the business, right? And so I don't let you notice the warning signs because you don't know any different, right? Properties are going through the roof. People that shouldn't be getting loans are getting loans, and you're just like, I guess that's how it works, right? Um, so it's just like let the good times roll. And I learned a very valuable lesson during that time, and I think a lot of people are going to learn that same lesson right now. And that is, we are about to figure out if you really know what you're doing, or if you were just in the right place at the right time in the recovery. And I don't say that to be negative. It's a harsh reality, and I'm going to cut it loose today, right? Like, I'm just going to speak the truth. I certainly don't know everything, but I'm going to be, if you ask me some questions, I'm going to be pretty straightforward and honest.
No, that's all we can ask. I mean, some people are thinking, and for you guys that are, that are joining us here, what has happened obviously is a health scare with the coronavirus, right? And I mean, I'm not scared of getting sick. Are you scared of getting sick? I mean, that's not really right.
No, I'm 48 years old. I'm healthy as a buck. I get up every day and fight back at 7. I get up, I'm at the gym by 7, home by 8, just boom, boom, boom. I'm not concerned about being sick.
And we're not trying to downplay it, because there are people that are sick, and we feel, we offer condolences for anybody that's sick or, a trying time, going through trying times and stuff. But what we're talking about here is, yes, everybody gets to stay home for, 2 weeks or whatever it is. But what we're literally talking about here is the world going on pause for 2 weeks, right? We're not talking about like spring break where, yes, you go on vacation, but you're spending money at all these different venues and, and events and things like that. But the world going literally on pause, on hold, on a global scale, this is something that is 100% unprecedented. Would you agree with that?
It's unprecedented. And I think if you would like to compare it from a health perspective, what would happen to you physically if your heart shut down for 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 weeks, right?
You're dead.
You're dead. Or if you were to come back and be resuscitated, there may be some permanent damage.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's,
right.
That's the best way I know how to. And a lot of times your best defense happened prior to the issue, right? You gotta. What kind of shape were you in before that happened will often dictate what kind of shape you are in after it happened, right?
Interesting.
And I think those are some great ways to look at today's call, because the reality of it is, inside of our organization, I think it's important to say this. And again, I want everything to be out there. I want everyone to understand. A lot of people don't know me. I lay pretty low. I don't do a lot of Facebook Lives, which may have been part of the problem today. I seem to be able to do it when I do it myself, but man, getting us together was quite a debauchery. But my point is I lay pretty low, but at the same time, have built an organization that probably has some of the most. A lot of our folks have not been in it 18 months or 2 years. These are a lot of our folks are flipping hundreds of properties on an annual basis and have built significant wealth via portfolios, whether that's through single family assets or through multifamily assets. Many of them have hundreds and hundreds of units. And so it's folks that have been around the block and really understand the game and have seen cycles before. So in other words, you know, they had they were in a certain shape before this incident, you will, and what kind of shape you're in before it happened may dictate what kind of shape you're in after it happens. And so I think that's a great way to kind of frame today's call.
So what would you say then was, what did it look like going from '08 to, let's say, 15? Because, you know, a lot of some of the gurus now, the new gurus that have come onto the scene with, you know, all this mass broadcast marketing, like texting, SMS, and blowing people up with RVMs and all this stuff, is how they basically built their businesses, right? From, you know, from 15 on, but from '08 to 15 is when it really started to, you know, come out of the mess, right? Or the beginning of the bottom to the mess. What did that look like?
I mean, I think, you know, I'll address this more from a humanity perspective, in that the good thing about resets like this are, you find your way back to center. And what I mean by that is you really get an opportunity to put things in perspective as far as who your friends are, how much your family means to you, what is truly important, right? Because in times like these, you're going to figure it out real quickly. And so I think it was initially, from a mindset perspective, it was very grounding. When everybody's riding high, they think they got it all figured out. There's initial, right, where he's like, you know what, I need to reassess what's really important in my life, because all the things that you had spent money on, and more likely wasted money on, I spent all of it, right, on toys. Those things were taken away, right? Those things evaporated. So 2008 to 2010, I think everybody was kind of licking their wounds. And I think, you know, you had to get back to the business basics during 2008, 2010. And, you know, I think a lot of people were really assessing what had happened. You know, what had happened. And then 2010, things seemed to start stabilizing again, and the economy started to develop momentum slowly but surely. And quite honestly, it went back to almost another stage of shooting fish in a barrel, but in a different way. In a different way. It was everybody and anybody was in on it in 2008. The market crashed, and then the power players come out in 2010, people that could buy and that could close, with people that could actually close, not just wholesalers, but people that had cash, and people that were able to make it through the hard times came back in force. And now we're kind of back at the other, it's almost like 2008 again. Anybody and everybody's flipping houses. And here we are again.
And however, though, we're not at this point looking at a crash based on fraud, based on all the poorly mortgage-backed securities and all that went along with that, right?
No.
We're looking at, which is why I kind of think, and I mean, who knows if I'm right, but how much of a hiccup is this going to be? You know, is it going to be a hiccup that is, you know, you stopped working out for a little bit, so you gained a little bit of belly fat, you know what I'm saying? And then you go back and you start working out and it goes away, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, gang, here's the deal. I know you probably showed up for answers and insight. You're probably going to get insight. Nobody's got answers. This thing is developing day by day. And no, I don't think it is going to be, you know, before it was, you know, shady loans and credit decisions that were causing the problem. Here's the reality of it. If I were to put a label on this thing, most entrepreneurs don't have enough cash flow to make it longer than 2 months. And most of them have employees that cannot go 30 days without a check. So here's the reality of it. What will cause the most damage is if you haven't had a cash management structure inside of your business, right? Those are two simple words, but don't take them lightly. If you have not had a cash management structure inside of your business and you've been scaling irresponsibly, and we can jump into that if you want to.
Yeah, sure.
This is going to be choppy, right? Like this is going to be really choppy if you have not had a cash management system inside of your business.
So what I've seen, and I'm actually not a part of your mastermind, but I know a lot of people that are, right? And from what I've seen is people that go into your mastermind, when they usually come out from their meeting or whatever it is, you see them build these almost brick and mortar businesses. You see them set up an office and they've got a staff and they've got a lot of marketing they're setting out, and they've got CEOs and COOs and CFOs and all this huge structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something business-wise structure that you recommend, or is that what everybody else is doing in there that comes from that, or what?
I don't recommend any particular business structure, right? Like I feel that everyone, we've got people that virtually wholesale in 6 different markets to people that are worth 30, 40, or $50 million with brick and mortar, you name it. I was on the phone with a friend of mine in Nashville today, Dan Lane. He's probably been in CG for 6 years. I mean, I'm not going to get in his personal business, but he's a perfect example. I mean, the guy's a top-notch investor, has a portfolio probably close to 200 units, flips a couple hundred houses a year. He's a beast.
Yeah.
And he's got a substantial net worth. And we have 28-year-old kids like Matt Vukovic who have $1 million+ wholesaling businesses that are small and agile. We've got it soup to nuts, right? So I'm not going to say that I recommend necessarily a certain business model, but what I do recommend are business basics, which I don't think a lot of people have been following. And the best way that I can summarize that is profit, right? Profit is not simply something that shows up in the bottom right-hand corner of your profit and loss statement. Okay. That's where it goes. That's where the numbers show up, or they don't. Maybe there's a dash next to it sometimes. Right? But my point, and I can honestly tell you, the vast majority of the folks on this call probably don't even operate off the P&L, right? And so,
guys, comment below. Are you operating off of P&L? I mean, I would hope most of you are when you're doing taxes and stuff like that.
90% of people do not operate off of P&L that are flipping houses. If they do, they don't look at it. 2, they don't understand it. 3, they don't know how it correlates to their balance sheet. And this, guys, please don't take any of this as me trying to be negative or condescending. I'm just telling you what's going on. The first thing that in order to assess any problem is to accept, where are we, right? Where were we? Where are we at? And where are we going? And so the thing that I want to share with everybody is when I talk about the fact that profit, right? Profit is not something that merely shows up on the bottom right-hand corner of your P&L. Means that just because you show profitability, if you don't understand from a balance sheet perspective, what's coming in, what's going out, what's yours, what isn't. Oh, great, I got $500,000 in the bank. I've got $1.8 million in the bank. Well, wait a minute, I got to pay 3 loans back. I've got EMD deposits going out on these 2. Most people don't really understand where their business is, and that's going to create a lot of challenges for folks because they don't really understand where they're at, and they haven't been implementing a conscious cash management system. When I talk about cash management, we have a term inside of the Collective Genius, and it's called, you see the commercials, drink responsibly, right? Our term is scale responsibly. Because if you've just been scaling, going to making money, but spending all your money going into a new market, opening a new market, and although you may have P&L on your or profit on your P&L, you don't have any liquidity, right? You don't actually have any money. There's a difference between having money and liquidity. If you have $30,000 in 30 rehab projects, I got $1 million. Whether or not you have that in 30 days from now, who knows? But if you've got liquidity, which is money in the bank, that's different, right? And so we bang the drum inside of CG on what's called profit first. And that means that
from the book, Michael Michalowicz.
Yeah, man. That is, or some type of cash management structure. Now, if you haven't been implementing that, this is probably a tough time to start it, right? But the premise of it is that profit has to be taken from the business and placed into a retained earnings account. Profit has to be taken from the business and placed into the Youngblood family rainy day, don't touch me account. Right?
Yes. Yes.
And then the business has to function moving forward with what is left over, so that in times like these, when you say, oh, things might slow down for a couple months, what am I going to do? You're like, hey, I'm peaceful because I've been taking profit, right, and placing it into this account over here, so my business can make it through tough times. I can take care of my family and I can take care of my employees, because you've been methodically going through with a cash management system. It's not rocket science, it's a discipline.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's a great statement. It is not rocket science to set up 4 different buckets, if you will, and then put the money into the buckets, right?
Yeah.
Anybody can do that, but it's the discipline that is the most important when it comes to that. So that's huge. And the reason why I brought you on this call too is because I saw that what you had posted, not from a standpoint of like, what are you going to do going forward, but you posted on, you made it seem like there are a lot of people that are like banging their chest, yeah, the opportunity is coming and we're going to go full bore. And you said people who have that attitude are going to get crushed. I'm pretty sure that's what you said.
That's pretty much what I said.
What did you mean by that? Or why?
Sure. First and foremost, I think that right now is a time where everyone is going to need flex. And when I say flex, you are going to get back what you give out. And so if you see this as an opportunity to take advantage of people while they're down versus creating win-win situations, sure, I respect the fact that there are probably going to be some assets purchased at a discount during this. I get it, right? But your messaging and how you convey that during these times, to me, is critical. And if you're going around banging your chest and, I can't wait for this, at the end of the day, there's going to be a lot of people struggling, right? And the other reason I said that was because half of the folks saying it, in 60 days, they're not going to have 2 red cents to rub together, and they're not going to get to not going to participate in this.
And are you saying because, when you're saying that's because cash flow is stopping at that point, right? So,
yeah, and in 60 days, most people, if cash flow stops, the recorders are shutting down. You can't close if you can't record. How long can you take that? Right? How long can you pull that off? And for most businesses, it's not a very long period of time. It's not a very long period of time. And then for those employees, it's for the employees that work inside of those businesses, during the time closing stop, people still need to be paid, right? So you got 2 opposing forces that are, and so my point is you got a lot of people who have been in the game for a short time. Arrogance right now is not a place to rejoice in. I would suggest a heightened sense of humility, looking for an opportunity to help people, because you may very well need help yourself, and more as an opportunity to help other people than like, I'm gonna go strip people, of like, this is just not the time for that.
Right.
And this is unprecedented. Things have slowed down before, but if they stop, even people who say, oh, I've got cash flow and assets, I'm safe, right? I'm good. I fully anticipate, I have a very handsome amount of money that comes in on a monthly basis from cash flow perspective. I invest in a lot of syndications with people inside of my organization. I'm fully anticipate, again, it goes back to the flex. You're going to get what you give right now. B class, C class assets, maybe even some A class assets. Like, I fully anticipate for that cash flow to take a hit during this time, because you got to go back to the vast majority of businesses. Let's just exclude house flippers. I don't want this to come across as personal, right? I'm just talking, step outside of house flipping and investing, and just go down your street to the Joe Blow dry cleaner or mom and pop's restaurant. Most of those folks don't have the ability to sustain a lack of any of cash flow for a month, 2 months, 3 months, right? And those are our business owners. That is the grease of the American wheel. And then you've got the people that work for them. And if they don't get paid, those are the people that are renting from investors. And so even if you have cash flow from, single family residences or multifamily or whatever it may be, you just can't take anything for granted. I think if you take some things for granted right now, your plan is wobbly.
Interesting. Yeah. So proceed with caution, as I would hope most people on this, on this call are, and are not just recklessly, cruising ahead kind of thing. So let's talk about this. And guys, as we're continuing this, post your questions below if you have them for Jason or me, or whatever you're whatever you're thinking as we're going. We'll address those.
Can you see the questions on your page?
I can see the questions on my phone coming through. A lot of people saying, "Hey, what's up, Jason? What's up? What's up? Can hear you.
What's up, everybody?"
All that good stuff. Yeah, almost about 100 people on. So we're we're moving, we're cruising. Yeah. So as far as moving forward, then, right?
Yeah, let's get proactive. Let's talk about it.
The typical business structure that we have nowadays, and my business is, we market, we get leads, we put houses under contract, we close on some, we wholesale some, right? Sure. It's a very simple business model. It works. It makes good cash flow. And that's how things are going. I was heavily in new construction from 2015 all the way up to the end of 2018, and then started paring down from 18 going into 19 and into 20, mainly because I wasn't sure what the market was going to be doing. Now, I felt a little stupid going from 18 into 19, and I saw everybody else was just banging the new construction, was just killing it, doing really, really, really well. I was like, oh man, maybe I got out a little too early. But now I'm like, well, okay.
Yeah.
But I talked to somebody this morning in my local market, one of the bigger players in my market, who's got 200 units right now, 200 new construction houses that are in development, or he said he only had like 4 for sale right now, and the rest of them were all under construction in some form or fashion, permitting, whatever within the development process. And he seemed not to be worried, because he went through 01, which I guess was 9/11, right? And he went through 08, and he said our area here in Hampton Roads is insulated because of military. So we have military workers will always work. Military workers will always get paid. They don't get laid off, blah, 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 blah. That was kind of his spiel. Now everybody's in the, has an area where military is around, but going forward, having said the type of marketing and the type of business that I'm in, what would you say overall, like, how should people proceed? Should they stop marketing at this point? Should they continue marketing?
Yeah, I think answering the question from a broad perspective is a dangerous approach. Everybody's in a different situation.
Yes.
Right? Like for that particular gentleman, in a military marketplace, he got a unique situation there. You got VA loans where probably everybody's getting 100%. Now there's some exposure there because they don't, maybe they put down $1,000 and then they show up at closing a year later after the house is built and they get a 100% loan. And again, all depending on your business structure, if he's got a pretty unique situation, I would probably go back to anybody that I had a deposit from and probably ask for a little bit larger deposit to create some security. And it's all relative. That person may be like, hey, we're good. We've got military. I feel comfortable with that. They're going to continue to get their pay. And they also might have $10 million in the bank.
Right.
And they're not worried. Right.
Right. That's true.
It's all relative. I'm not worried. I'm not happy. I'm not excited about any of this, right? I fully envision my business will be impacted, but I've been hyper disciplined over the last 4 years in practicing cash management and pulling profitability off the table and continuing, instead of continuing to scale and scale out of profits, right?
Right.
I'm not worried. I'm not concerned about whether or not I'm going to have to let my employees go. I'm not concerned about if my family is going to, because of what we've done up until this point. So everyone's different. right?
Right.
Everybody's situation is different. So to give blanket advice is a challenging
I agree with
thing.
that.
I think what we can do is we can attack this from a practical, tactical perspective of giving advice that everyone should be following right now. And that's I think you gotta really dial in your buy box right now. Maybe even tighten it up a little bit as far as what you're willing to buy, what you aren't willing to buy. 3 weeks ago, that house that was just outside the best area of town that you might have pulled the trigger on, maybe you have to reconsider that, or you've got to choose to buy it deeper, right? So that's just an example of you've got to tighten up your buy boxes. The biggest thing that I would recommend to everybody is that you got to set up open communication lines with everyone. I would be babysitting every closing that you have. I would set up a phone call with everyone that's under contract. I would set up a phone call with all of your lenders to continue to strategize, continue to take the pulse of where they are at. If you get referrals from agents, again, I would be drawing your networks together based upon what they do inside of your organization. If they lend you money, have regular communication. I'm getting together right now with everybody that runs Masterminds, right? I've been up since 6 o'clock on the phone, just call after call. And we're going to set up a weekly call because we're going to hold each other's hands through this challenging time. I would suggest that you get with your network and you hold hands during this challenging time, right? So communicate. Bring the core players in your team together and function as a unit during this time. Tighten up your buy box. Number 2, if I were going to throw some other things out there, you are going to have to change your contract verbiage around the fact that a lot of municipalities might be closing right now, or they're shutting down slowly. Some places that's already happening. Okay, well, what do I do if I can't close? Do I write the contract? You're going to have to write the contract and change verbiage that addresses the fact that, hey, I'm usually a close fast in 7 days cash kind of person. And you may have to change your verbiage to adopt to that, right? It may be within X amount of days of municipalities opening, or it may be you're going to have to take your local situation and address it from the perspective of the fact that permits aren't getting processed, deals can't be recorded. And there's some of you on the phone or on this call right now where still business as usual, and some of you are in municipalities where the recorders are shutting down for the next 2 weeks, some for a month. But changing verbiage on your contracts is going to be critical, I think. So I think you're going to have to. This is going to sound brutal, but the time to figure it out is now. It's not when it's time to sound the alarm. You need to really look at who are essential and non-essential people on your team. The last thing, even talking about it makes my skin crawl, right? To have to even say that, but it may come to that. If we shut the world down for 2 months, it may come to that. And at the end of the day, from the perspective of if there's no business, you're not serving anyone, right? And again, there may be alternatives to that. You can look at who's non-essential on your team. You can look at what happens if I reach this level. If my reserves get to this point, do I go to my team and have a discussion that, listen, guys, we're struggling right now. We're going to need, you have a choice, right? We're either going to have to let you go, or everyone's going to have to take 50 or 60 or 70% of their current salary until we can make it through this. You're going to have to think about a contingency plan now, rather than, you don't want to stick your head in the sand.
Would you say there's a good, because I don't want to say, like how much money you should have in the bank, but is there a good percentage of the amount of revenue that you are or were doing of reserves that you should have and be like, okay, I'm good with that percentage, or a target number essentially?
Yeah.
So like $1 million business, are they okay with having $100,000 in the bank and being like, okay, that's a good buffer, to 10%.
Yeah. I don't think you can gauge it by business. I think you have to look at your fixed overhead and hope that you have a minimum I stress a minimum of 3 to 6 months.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
That's a good way to do it.
I think the size of the business answering it that way could give some false positives or false negatives.
Right.
There are people that run $1 million businesses and they need 8 people to do it. And there's people that run $1 million businesses and they need 2 people to do it. Right. So I would look at your fixed overhead and hopefully you've got, 3 to 6 months of reserves to make it through this challenging time. You really need to be paying attention to, listen, a lot of people have gotten away with being gunslingers, house flippers, but not house flipping business owners.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a big difference in house flipping business owners. You've really got to be paying attention to your core KPIs right now. And I made a list of some of those, right? You need to be, hang on one second. I pull it up on my phone here. You've got to be looking at, you got to be looking at a couple things in your marketplace as far as days, DOM, right? What are days on market? And this is developing on the daily, right? It's almost premature, or we're almost at a point where we don't have enough data really to make. You got to have data to make decisions, and we don't really have enough data. But you need to start studying and looking at DOMs, which are days on market. You need to start studying, for example, purchase price versus contracted price. Are those typically say in any market, it's, if you $100,000 purchase was going to contract at $97,000 or 97% of the initial offer. You can do the same on retail sales. You can do the same for your wholesale deals. Like, hey, normally I'd make 10 grand on that thing in a heartbeat, but I'm having to roll these out at $5 grand.
That's a good one. Price that they're actually selling for is that's a big one.
Yeah. You need to, I would suggest tapping into, if you have any type of assets with equity in them, if you have the ability to tap into those assets just to have some liquidity to make sure, if you've got a portfolio with some equity in it and you can tap into that, get a line against it, that may be something that you need to consider right now. You need to have an all-out push on cash. You gotta kind of get you gotta soldier up right now. This is not the time to be like, oh, I wonder how things are gonna go. You need to soldier up. You need to generate cash. You really need to figure out what your fixed expenses are right now, so you know where your break even's at. I suggest that you share things with your staff, not to be negative, but if you got a team, you better start acting like one, right? You really want to, I would consider, when you're talking to your lenders, if you got a lot of debt service due, you just want to get a feel for where, are they going to have some leniency, just as you may have to have leniency in your portfolio with renters, or if you've got, 30 projects going on right now and you've got a loan on all of them, are your lenders going to have lenience? And you may not know those answers. You got to communicate, right? Half the calls I've done since 6 o'clock this morning, some of them didn't go anywhere. Some of them were like, oh my gosh, I'm glad I talked to, Marcus Krigler today, so just be banging the phones. You got to have a relentless sense of urgency. I think you just really need to, if you have a set of KPIs that you are monitoring on a regular basis, you need to stay on top of them. And what you give is what you're going to get. If you think that you're going to stop buying everything, but yet you think the people that are, if you're wholesaling and you think I'm going to stop buying everything, but I hope that my rehabbers and my landlords who buy from me, I hope they keep buying, right? Like there's got to be a flow of money. You're going to get what you give. And I know that's a challenging, because you let me just, do this and then make sure they keep buying from me. There has to, the flow, the danger of what we're looking at here is the stop of flow.
Right. That's huge right there. The stop of the flow. And, a lot of people, they have a question, are buyers going to stop buying? And I go back to your original advice where you said, well, get on the phone, right? Well, stop guessing. If we've been in this business a while, and most of us have, we can simply pick up the phone and say, hey, guess what? I've got a deal or whatever. Are you interested in looking at her? Man, how do you feel about the situation about what's going on right now? You know, and then you'll know.
You might have 10 buyers that you normally sell to, and 8 of them say, no way. And you might have the other 2 that say, listen, I've got $50 million in cash and I'm ready to eat it up. Let's go.
Right.
Right. You don't know. And so you've got to communicate. I think to me, the biggest thing is your mindset right now. You've got to be on the attack mode, right? This is not the time to be docile. In any way,
as far as firming up your operation, so to speak.
Firming up your operation and communicating with the people that you do business with. Where are you at? What's your stance? Hey, I've bought 30 rentals from you in the last year. I'd love to buy 30 more and I've got the money to do it. Let's go. Right. Like you don't know, you got to get out there and figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And I encourage you to create, candidly, there are the biggest investors across the country pay $25,000 to be in a collective genius. And there's one primary reason why. It's because of the network.
Right.
It's the network. And so I encourage you to engage. We are launching a call this Friday where once a week we will be bringing our top leadership into, not only the top leadership from my organization, guys like Frank Cava, who are actually in Virginia near you, but the top leaders inside of our organization. And on a weekly basis, we will be taking the pulse of what's going on. How are we reacting to what's taking place? That's really the get your network involved with you, get on the phone and make things happen. So
what would you say for real estate people that are either just getting started in this business or, because you're dealing with it in the collective genius, you're dealing with people that are established. They've been doing business a while. They have to have a certain amount of revenue to even get through the threshold of the door. But people that are just getting started in this business, they're interested, they want to learn about real estate. For now, like, what would you say about that? Is now a great time to get in, learn the business, see what they can do so that they can capitalize on what's about to come? Or what would you say about that?
I think like literally today, like as in today, right? Like Tuesday,
right now.
Yeah, like right now, right now, I would just like it's choppy right now, and to go out and make rash decisions about I would just make sure that you too have guidance or mentors, that if you find what you would consider a deal, that you have other people that you can bounce that off of, right? Sometimes one mistake in this business when you're just getting started out could be your first and last mistake, right? Or it might sting bad enough to where you're like, whew, I don't do that anymore. So what measures can you put in place to ensure that doesn't happen? And so if you find a deal that you think, hey, this really seems like a deal, then I would just make sure that you have some mentors or someone on a local, or maybe your first deal is like, you know what, I'm going to do this with a partner. And so go find somebody in your marketplace. Typically there are top-notch people that run high-level meetups with hundreds of people. They're probably very experienced. Go get involved somewhere where you can find a group, go plug into a network, and be able to ask people, is this a sound decision? I still do that. And I mean,
absolutely.
6 months ago, I don't usually fund, dirt, right? Empty lots. And one of my members asked if I would fund two contiguous lots right next to each other in a very nice part of town. And I'm like, I don't really know how to evaluate the dirt. So I called other people that I know in Jacksonville who know that marketplace very well. And I said, hey, am I okay here at what appears to be a very low LTV? And they gave me the green light. Yep, you're good, man. And so that's the best. That's what I would give, the best advice that I would give right now. But press forward, right? There's no wrong time or right time to get in real estate, whether it's at the top, the bottom, the middle. You just got to get in and get your hands dirty a little bit. Just be careful. That's all there is to it.
I mean, and that leads us to actually some of these questions here. Somebody asked, John asked, how is wholesaling impacted from 08 to 10?
Wholesaling, it was here's everything is cyclical, right? And so when you have big busts, what happens is wholesalers often lose their level of importance simply from the perspective that inventory becomes, for what I would say, publicly available. All right.
REOs.
And so, well, a lot of different ways, right? Like REOs through agents. Banks are selling off chunks of assets. The auctions are prevalent and margins are good. Like right now, auctions are tight and margins are thin. So in other words, you could wake up and really only have to focus on having an operationally sound machine, whereas you wouldn't have to focus so much on, you don't have to focus so much on lead generation, right? And so my point there is that inventory in 08 and 010 or 08 and 10 was plentiful, if you will. It's not that wholesalers didn't exist. It's just some of the assignment fees that people are making right now are pretty extravagant.
Yes,
Yeah, pretty extravagant. So, as inventory, if we end up in a situation where inventory increases, people default on their mortgage, there's more short sales and inventory increases, your margins as wholesalers will probably get compressed. But I don't know where we're at or if that's going to happen. But wholesalers don't have the same level of value in the equation when inventory is plentiful, right? Because let's just keep it real. People are paying you those big assignment fees because typically their expertise is not in finding the deal.
Right. It's in operating a real business, right?
Right.
Because we all know that sourcing deals is a business by itself.
Yeah. And if it's easy to source the deals, then your value in the equation can get minimized. So you just got to be smart right now, right? You've got to be hyper calculated. You got to be very conscious of what moves you're making. I think the folks that make it through this are going to be like, there's going to be an opportunity to help a lot of people, and there's going to be a lot of opportunity to help yourself.
So Gabriel Garcia,
hey, my man.
Yeah. He says, for those who don't have enough liquidity, are there any ways to increase it within the next 60 to 90 days?
Yeah. Again, a very broad stroked question there. If you've got great credit, yeah, there are a lot of different ways to get liquidity. You could potentially there are companies out there that offer business lines of credit. You may want to go to the bank to look at getting a loan. You may want to look at how you restructure deals. You may have to give up some equity in the deal in order to get liquidity. And when I say equity, hey, I can get a loan for 80% of this deal, but I got to bring 20%. So let me find somebody with 20%, and then I may have to do a profit share with them versus just simply paying them interest on the loan, right? If you have any type of assets that have liquidity in it, if you have a house that has equity in it, you may be able to look at getting a HELOC. If you have a portfolio with any level of liquidity or any level of equity in it, you may be able to recap it. And you might be able to recap it, get lower rates, and also do a cash out refi without even increasing your payment structure too much or your debt service too much. Those are, can you look at your marketing channels? And again, if you don't know your KPIs, this can be challenging. If you know your metrics, you might be able to say, this is my most expensive channel over here on a cost per deal basis. I may have to take some of those dollars and pour it into, you might say, gosh, direct mail is my most expensive source. Texting is my least expensive. Or ringless voicemail is my least expensive. I may have to take some dollars from over here and pour it into this. You're going to have to be hyper analytical in your business right now. But those are some potential ways to free up cash. I would look at any unnecessary, go through your bank statements. and look at any unnecessary expenses. I'm sure all of us have 3 or 4 pieces of software that we, I was fixing to getting around to using that one day. But again, that doesn't necessarily, that may slow things down. It's probably not going to necessarily give you liquidity per se. So again, a lot of the best advice is, and again, I hate saying this, but I also don't want to be someone, I don't want to be guarded or not. The best advice is in the rearview mirror, and that is that you have to live. There's a formula. You got to create a cash cow, a business that's thriving and firing in all cylinders. That cash cow, if you scale responsibly, allows you to put money into retained earnings so your business can make it through bumps, money into a rainy day for your family so your family can make it through bumps. And then once those buckets are filled, then you begin buying rentals. I see a lot of people that are like, you don't yet have a level, a business that has CPR. You don't have a business that's consistent, repeatable, and predictable. And until it's consistent, repeatable, and predictable, you don't go out trying to buy cash flow, right? You got to create the cash cow first. And I know for a lot of folks, that advice would have been good 6 months, a year ago, 6 years ago. But hopefully, and you got to live below your means. We all live, like, most of us don't do that. Things change. And so, although there's no magic wand for right now, the things are changing daily. The biggest thing is there's only one reason why I don't have personal concerns right now. I shouldn't say don't have personal, we all do right now, right? But I'm not worried about, am I going to have to let employees go? Are we going to get kicked out of the house? No, I don't have those concerns because I learned my lesson the first time.
Yes.
Right. I learned and now here's the thing, along the way, right? Since 2010, since people climbed back on top, there's opportunity everywhere. And you think, oh gosh, I've got that money in the bank, retained earnings, and I've saved up that money to take care of my family. Look at that deal. Look at that deal. That's a good deal right there. I got to go get that deal. You might have got that deal and you continue to scale your business and you're taking all your profits to go get the next deal. And when somebody pulls the chair out on the musical chairs, if you don't have any liquidity, you might still be holding that deal and not be able to take care of your business and your family. And so,
yeah,
my biggest takeaway here, and I know it's a little gray from the perspective of I can't paint a sunshiny picture right now, but however this shakes out for you, you should learn from it. You've got to learn from this.
Right? Absolutely. I mean, this is amazing. This is like we said, unprecedented time in history. That one day when we're old and gray, it'll be like, well, back in the day,
Yeah.
When the sickness that shook the world,
You're gonna remember where you were when all this stuff happened, right?
Yeah.
And so it's gonna get interesting. But I just encourage you to be powerful, to be full of fire right now. The last thing that you can do is reach a spot where your mind is in a dark spot. I mean, I'm stuck here at the house. I could easily say, oh, I couldn't go to the gym today. I couldn't get with my trainer today, so I'm not gonna go. No, I'm up. I'm at it. Yesterday I had my little girl out on the back porch. I even did on my Facebook story. Had her doing push-ups, right?
Yeah.
I told her, what's the advice for today, baby? She said, keep it moving, right? Just keep it moving. Stay strong. Stay powerful. Be a bright light. Feed into people right now.
I like that.
Yeah. Get up off your ass and go.
Nick says, what investment strategy was the most successful in 08 and 09? How did the transfer of wealth happen?
Yeah. I mean, it's again, I look at that as such a broad question.
Broad question, yeah.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's the people who are not, the people that were living above their means and weren't running smart businesses had to give it over to the people that were and that did. And if you want an analogy, we go back to, hey, back in '08, you know, my barber that's claiming $19,000 on his tax return and probably legitimately makes 60 grand, which is nothing wrong with that. But, you know, he's got 8 rental properties in which he did all Nina loans, no income, no asset, didn't put a dollar into any of them. And then when crap hits the fan, they all evaporate. The value of those assets plummets. And then the people who have the money to buy them at the lower price. And so in the shift in wealth took place because either one, you had the money, or two, you had the connections to have the money. And people who are running sound businesses, and you don't run sound businesses being completely over leveraged and right. Like you can look back and go, well, the barber that had 8 houses and like, he probably shouldn't have done that, you know? But sometimes you can get market drunk.
Yes.
You know, you can get, it's intoxicating and the market is carrying you, right? You think, I got it going on. I'm a barber. I'm making, you know, I got 8 houses. I didn't put a dime in any of them. Right. It seems cool at the time. But
yeah.
Your intelligence, or your outward intelligence of being like, that's the guy, man. He's got it. The reality of it is the marketplace was carrying you. You were not ever a savvy investor.
Everybody's a genius in the up market, right?
Yeah. It's just like leading right now, right? Anybody can captain the ship during calm waters.
Melanie says, you said to tap into equity. We have large amounts of equity. Do you think it will be difficult to cash out refi?
I don't think it will. No, I don't. If anybody wants to DM me, if you're an established investor and you're looking to do a recap on your portfolio, I'm hyper connected. You're welcome to send me a direct message on Facebook, and I will do my best. I have a bazillion things coming at me as well, just like everyone else does right now. It might take me a day or two, but if you are positioned correctly and you have liquidity, you know, and are to be seen as an intelligent borrower, I've got people that can move, and that can move quickly.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody else have any more questions about this? We've been talking to Jason Medley, who is the founder and owner of the Collective Genius, which is a mastermind for seasoned real estate investors. I'm going to ask him to explain a little bit about that.
Come here and say hi.
She can come say hi.
Let's lighten the moment.
4 kids running around
too. You
know?
Let's lighten the moment. Shh, come here and say hi, boo boo. Come here and say hi. Okay, she's being shy.
She didn't want to say hi.
Listen, if you're not going to say hi, you must be quiet. Hold on one second. Yeah. Avy, come here. Sit with Papa. Come on. Come here.
This is only one. Yeah. Only today.
There she is. Hi. That's the reason we do what we do right there.
Yeah, exactly. She's made an appearance and now she's bouncing.
That's awesome.
So yeah, no, I enjoyed this. I would just encourage everybody really to do your best to stay calm. You can't lead from a place of panic. You know, stay strong, stay powerful. I encourage you to get up every day. You know, I'm not pushing my belief set on anybody, but I got up today and I get out of here. I thank God for that which is free today.
Sure.
This right?
Absolutely.
This. Hold on one second. Honey, come here. You gotta wait till Daddy finishes this call. Okay, love bug? You gotta be quiet. She's doing some drive-bys. But you know, the breath in your body, the beat in your heart, you know, my knees when they were on the carpet this morning, to be able to hear the coffee grinder going,
yes,
and the bubbles making, and knowing that my little girl's safe and happy and healthy in the bed, and that my we started the call with talking about times like these bring you back to center. Start every day at center.
Right. Right.
Yeah. Start every day at center,
So what if people want to find about Collective Genius? What is that and how's that all work?
Sure. Just go to thecollectivegenius.com, thecollectivegenius.com. There's a button there that says watch the video, and it'll tell you a little bit about us. It'll tell you about the caliber of investors that we have inside of our organization. It'll tell you about our network. That's really what CG is. I mean, there are people there sharing systems, strategies, and resources for sure, how to get deals done. But a ton of folks in there are doing deals together, right? Whether it's me bringing equity on a multifamily transaction that Randy Lawrence, who is a member, he found the deal. And then Chris Litzler might be bringing the debt on the deal. Like everybody, we're buying houses, selling houses, lending money, borrowing money. If you're a high caliber investor and you want a high caliber network right now to help you through these times, we're actually doing something that we don't normally do because I've been strategizing with my team this morning. We usually bring people out to a meeting and our next meeting is not until June. And that's your first, like if you said, I want to come to the Collective Genius, you wouldn't get to come until June. And so what we're doing right now is we're bringing people into the mix because we understand they're looking for answers. We're bringing people into the mix right now, and you will be able to kind of get in on those weekly calls that I was telling you about, where our top shelf investors are strategizing on where we at, what's changing in the marketplace, how do we adapt, how do we, so it's going to be very high level calls. You're going to get access to our COO. I'm not trying to make this a commercial, but you asked.
No,
me,
sure.
right?
I asked you.
Yeah, we have calls for your second in commands right now who are having to probably take half of what needs to be done and implement it. We have monthly calls for the COOs. We have every 2 weeks we have trainings around, and I'm sure we have those trainings scheduled out. Those trainings will likely be shifting because of what's going on, and they'll be more relevant today. But we've got a top shelf organization. We operate with precision, and I can assure you that as far as our members are concerned, we are here to lead them through this transition.
Very good. Very good. Awesome. And one thing I will say too is, guys, if you are in a spot where you're like, man, I don't know which way to go with this. Should I double down? Should I sit tight? It is super valuable to have somebody by your side that can help you with this. Even if it's like, I got this lead. Is it a deal? Should I put this under contract? Should I not? I've got a mentoring program as well that can help you along with that. So if you're interested in having somebody that you can reach out to, if you've got a deal or you're trying to figure out, what type of marketing you should do, I have a program that's available for that too. So you can, if you're interested, ask. We'll drop a link and you can check that out. And Jason, super excited to have you on here because we've tried this now. We've been effectively together here for 2 hours and 18 minutes, although the first hour and 15 minutes was trial and error. We finally got it. I think we got some really good information out there for everybody. If you guys appreciated Jason's info, give us a big thumbs up. Let us know what you thought, and feel free to share this broadcast as well.
It was an honor to have served you guys. I enjoyed it. I hope you did as much as I did. And I wish everyone, I truly want nothing but the best for everyone. Get back to center every morning and every night and let whatever happens in the middle go. Do your best, be powerful, be strong, bring courage. Right now, people need courage. Be tenacious, be ferocious. Like, now is not the time to be docile.
That's it. Got to be on top of it, right? Be proactive, not reactive.
We don't necessarily know what it is right now, but we know we better be on top of it, right?
Well, guys, I appreciate it. Before we go, just want to let you know, I believe I've got Ron LeGrand, the man, coming on Thursday. We were originally supposed to have him on Wednesday, but we're going to have him on Thursday. I believe John Alexander is tomorrow, and Rob Swanson, I believe, is on Thursday as well. So I'll let you guys know. But trying to get the best advice that you guys can possibly get from people that have been in the game a while, have seen downturns and upturns and all that kind of thing. And Jason is one of those. So thanks again, man,
thank you, sir, for having me on. I enjoyed it. I think that's it.
Peace out, my friends.
Man. All right, guys.
Take care.
Bye-bye.